can build your business. And now let's flip over to the licensee section.
There we go.
Please. So now this is very similar to the art detail area. We have the place for general information, company name, contact, address, phone numbers, all of that. There's a space for notes. I have found that to be very useful as companies buy each other. Like, used to be, this is now this company, it used to be this company, my original licenses were this person. You can put any kind of note that you're going to want to remind yourself or know about that person. Directly below the notes section is where you are going to,
Sorry.
That's okay.
I was trying to
We can talk about royalties. I like the money part best. Creating the art and seeing that it's making me money. So the royalties, this is going to be mirrored to the royalty information on the art collection. But if you notice, it says collection right under royalties instead of licensee because we're on the licensee page. So if you have a manufacturer, like Beth talked about in her question, that pays for more than one design, I personally enter the numbers under the licensee. So because maybe I have to do 10, I'll get a check one day and it will be different amounts of money related to 10 different collections. So I'm going to do 10 entries on this page. The date will be the same, the amounts will vary, and the collection will change. And you're going to do those collections, they link to the art by code. So however you do your codes, that's how that's going to link. And then it also gives you similar, like the number in blue, the $1,500, that's how much this licensee has paid over the history of working with them. But then you can also see how much they've paid you for each collection that they've licensed. And so you might get an idea of, this type of art sells better for this manufacturer than another type. And it can help you keep track of what you should show them. Like, okay, I got to make sure I always show them my new drink art because they do really well with it. Or maybe help you decide who gets right of first refusal for something if you don't want to submit it to multiple people at the same time. And then the licensed products it goes back and forth with the collections. Just like we said, you can do the under review, or it can just be the licenses that are firm that you have. And then there's also a section which is above that called contracts, and that's where you're going to enter, your basic contract. When you do that, what the term is, the notification and renewal, that's where the information is pulled from that ends up on the login page that tells you, hey, make sure you pay attention to this. I just went through, after I got this software and was entering all this data, I found that I had 5 or 6 licensees that I was working with. It was like we were driving without a license. Our contracts, one of them had been expired for 4 years. And we were basically just working under what it was, but I just went back and said, we need to renew this license so that we're good to go on the paperwork. And by the way, because we've been working so well together, can we increase my royalty a little bit? It worked a few times, not every time, but it's always good to ask. As one of my clients said, I wouldn't be happy if I worked a job for 5 years and never got a raise, so why should you? I thought that was a good point.
I agree with that.
Yeah, and then there's a space for notes there as well. Is there anything else you can think of for this?
No, it's very similar to the collection side of it. It's just coming from a different perspective.
Yeah, and then show them can we show them the list page and how that works pretty much the same? Yep. And is sortable as well. So as you can see, I really spend a lot of time with Post-it notes and making charts and thinking about what do I need to know, what kinds of information do I need to organize, what's going to keep me on the right side of the law with my contracts, what is going to help me make decisions about what to do in my business. If you look at this page, you can see I've made significantly more money with fabric makers, this is all made up numbers of course, than with Dishes R Us. So if both of those companies call me and want me to do some work for them, who should I be spending more time on? Obviously fabric makers, because that's the more profitable client for me. And sometimes you'll be surprised that the people you like to work with and that you think you're probably making more money with, when you actually crunch the numbers, they might not be your more profitable clients. So this is truly a case of knowledge is power, and it helps you make decisions. What else? Okay, so I decided to, I looked at a lot of different systems. As I told you, I started with index cards, and then I went to some Excel spreadsheets that became so cumbersome I never filled them in. I had file folders. I still have file folders that have actual contracts in them, but now I have all the data organized. So I went and took my data in hand and tried to figure out what kind of software was going to work and what was going to do what I wanted it to do. And I looked at some of the less expensive and prettier things and decided, you know what, that's just a prettier version of an index box because it's still not going to connect what I need it to connect. And I decided, okay, FileMaker looks cool, and I downloaded the demo thinking that I was going to do it myself. That lasted for about half an hour. And then Matthew Bookspan, if you read my blog, you'll know I just sing his praises for helping me with the Daylight contact management software. He knew how. How did he meet you, Hal?
We're actually both in Orlando, and we met actually through Twitter and met face-to-face, and he focuses on Macintosh consulting and with Daylight, and our businesses really work together well. Where he focuses on the Mac side and the Daylight side, we focus on the database development side. So we're kind of like two peas in a pod.
Yeah, cool. And I pretty much thought, well, I could search the web and just find somebody off the internet, or I could go with a referral from somebody I'm already happy with. So that's how I ended up with Hal. And I bought the software. We developed it. I ended up spending about $1,800 to get this done.
You were already running. You already had FileMaker Pro, correct?
Yes.
And that was another $300.
Yeah. That's because I thought I was going to do it myself. Remember?
Right.
Yeah. I am a DIY person, but luckily I'm very, very happy that I decided not to learn to be a database programmer. So basically what we decided was, you know what, everybody shouldn't have to spend that kind of money to get their data organized, and I wanted to offer this solution to other people who thought it was going to work for them. That's why we're on this webcast today, because I wanted you to get a better idea of how it works, why it works, the theory behind it. And now I'm going to let Hal talk a little bit, and he's going to tell you more of the technical details and how the license works, and if you could tell him a little bit more about the trial. And then if you're logged in and can chat, if you have more questions after we've explained this, chat them up there, and we will make sure we answer your questions too.
Thanks, Tara. So this database, the Art Licensing Manager, runs using a third-party product called FileMaker Pro. And generally, if you were building your own database, you would need to purchase FileMaker Pro. And as I mentioned earlier, it retails for $300. But FileMaker has a great feature in their advanced product, FileMaker Pro Advanced. It lets you create runtimes. And that's what we've done with the Art Licensing Manager. On our website, campsoftware.com, if you go to our products page and then to the Art Licensing Manager, you can download this demo as either a runtime, which comes with FileMaker Pro. We call it a special version of FileMaker Pro, but really it's a runtime.
What is a runtime? That is lingo that is unfamiliar to me, and I'm guessing unfamiliar to others.
Thank you. It's basically a free copy of FileMaker Pro that only works with the Art Licensing Manager. You cannot use it to create another database or browse another database. It just only works with the Art Licensing Manager. FileMaker Pro works with Macintosh or Windows. You can also, depending upon your size, you could actually use FileMaker Server to share this database amongst up to 1,000 people if you have a very large department, or with a standard version of FileMaker, just the individual copy, you could share with 10 other people if you had a smaller office. You can also do a lot more with FileMaker. A few months ago, about 3 months ago, I believe, FileMaker came out with FileMaker for the iPad and also FileMaker for the iPhone. And while we haven't tested this database directly, everything should work. I need to go back and test it, but you should be able to open this database straight away with FileMaker Go. It's really amazing. And I keep giving Tara ideas. I'm trying to convince her to take this to the web. But you can also, with FileMaker Server, take this database to a web page. You could have it publish effectively a search engine for your licensed art so that your clients can actually go through your products and find things they're interested in. It doesn't do that at this time, but it's something that it can do. FileMaker is excellent for customization. Tara was just talking to us the other day about a new feature she was interested in, and we figured it might take about 15-20 minutes to implement. So when you download the demo and after you purchase it, when you sell it, you're effectively buying a license to use it. You do not have access to the source code, but if you were interested in customizations, we could work with you to make those changes. And generally what we do is, for instance, if you were to call us and say, hey, we would like this added in, we would assess that feature. And if that feature made sense, that like everyone could use it, for instance, if you wanted a second image for the licensed art, that would be something that probably everybody could use. So we would talk to you about what you needed, give you an idea of how much it would cost to make that change. And if everyone else would use it, we would roll that up and release an update so that everyone else could use it. If it was a feature that was really specified or specific for your use, then we would probably spin you off and you would have your own version that would only have that feature in it. And it would be great because then you'd have exactly what you wanted. But if anybody else, adds a feature, you really wouldn't be able to participate in the upgrades that would come out. But if you said, hey, I just saw this update, I'd like that feature too, that can happen. So FileMaker is really flexible, and when you download it, you do not need to buy a copy of FileMaker Pro. But if you already own FileMaker Pro, you can use the database with it.
Right. So really, if they wanted to do serious customization, and like we had an agent contact us and they were interested in learning more, this might be a solution for them because it already has the basic stuff and they can get all of this already programmed in for $250 instead of $1,800, and then they can hire you to go from here. So it's almost like they're starting ahead of the game.
Absolutely
because
correct.
We've done some of the groundwork. But if they were to do a lot of customization, they would need to get the program also. Is that true?
It really depends on how they want to use it. We could create a specific runtime for whoever needed to use it, but as soon as the runtime only works with one user at a time. So if you have an office with 3 people in it, the only way to really use it as a runtime would be to have one computer or put it on your network so that one person opens it at a time. If a second person opens it, it'll probably give you an error of some sort. But if you want more than one person to access the data at one time, that's where you need to get the full version of FileMaker or FileMaker for iPad or iPhone.
Okay. Yeah, so that's really when you upgrade your bicycle, to go back to our original analogy.
Exactly correct.
And do that, yeah. And, I may take he has all these ideas for me, and I have a few of my own, and we may implement them and offer everybody an upgrade at some point, but I'm not ready to put more money into this just yet.
But that's the great part.
See.
Tara might not be, but anyone who's listening or anybody who downloads it, you can decide too.
Yeah, it would be awesome if, if we came up with different things and, somebody paid for one thing, somebody paid for another, somebody paid for another, I paid for another, and then all of a sudden, poof, we have this really cool thing. Okay, so a couple people, and I know you did talk a little bit about this, asked about the ability to manage other areas of their business with the Art Licensing Manager. So you mentioned, just to